Back to the Booknook podcast.
Oh, it's great to be back.
Today, we're diving deep into Katherine May's Wintering, the power of rest and retreat in difficult times.
Oh, a great choice.
And of course, to help unpack all this, we have our resident expert.
Always happy to be here.
Now, for anyone who hasn't had the chance to pick up the book just yet,
Right.
can you give us a little overview of this idea of wintering?
Yeah, so wintering isn't just about the season. It's more of like a metaphor for all those times in our lives, when things just feel hard or off.
Yeah, like you're out of sync with everything.
Exactly. So it could be like dealing with loss or going through some sort of hardship.
I see.
But the thing is, May argues that these times are totally natural. Like they're not something we should try to avoid.
As part of the natural cycle.
Exactly.
Interesting. So how does she suggest we actually approach these times?
Oh, that's a good question. She doesn't say we should just grit our teeth and power through.
Right.
It's more about shifting our perspective, seeing these winter periods as a chance to rest and reflect.
I like
And
that.
ultimately, you come out renewed on the other side.
So it's not about denying the difficulty, but finding a new way to work with it.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there.
And I know May draws a lot of inspiration from nature.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like the way animals hibernate or trees lose their leaves.
Right. It's like nature accepts winter rather than resisting it.
Exactly.
Now, I understand wintering as this metaphor for tough times, but I'm curious how May's personal journey plays into all of this.
Right. Well, her own experiences are really what led her to explore this whole concept.
I can imagine.
I mean, she faced a lot all at once.
Like what?
Well, her husband was sick, then her son was having anxiety,
Oh, wow.
and on top of that, she was dealing with her own health issues and a career change.
Yeah, that's a lot to handle.
It really is.
And on top of all that,
Right.
I understand May was also diagnosed with autism as an adult.
Yeah, and that added another layer to her experience of wintering.
Especially that feeling of being different or out of sync.
You got it.
This really shows how wintering is different for everyone.
Absolutely.
It's not just what's happening around us, but those inner struggles too.
Exactly, and this is where May's exploration goes even deeper.
Okay.
It becomes less about coping with the hardship and more about this journey of self-discovery.
Oh, wow.
Like learning to accept every part of yourself.
Even the parts that feel broken.
Yeah, even those parts.
That's powerful.
It is, isn't it?
I'm already finding this so insightful, and I'm sure our listeners are too.
Hopefully.
Before we get too far, though, I want to remind our amazing listeners to hit that subscribe button.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, of course, leave us a review if you're enjoying this deep dive.
Always love hearing from everyone.
Now, back to May's story.
Yeah.
So she's going through this really tough time,
Right.
but she's not just sitting there passively.
No, she's actively looking for ways to navigate it.
So what does she do?
Well, one of the things she does is look to nature for guidance.
Oh, like the hibernation and those trees shedding leaves we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. She's really drawn to how quiet nature is in the winter.
Yeah, I can see that.
She finds comfort in the beauty and the stillness.
There's definitely something grounding about being in nature.
I think so too, especially during the quieter seasons.
Like it helps you connect with something bigger than yourself.
You said it.
So May finds solace in nature.
Right, but she takes it a step further.
Really?
She travels to Iceland.
Wow, Iceland.
Yep, known for those harsh winters and amazing landscapes.
So what does she do there?
She experiences things like saunas, and you're not going to believe this. Cold water swimming.
Cold water swimming in Iceland.
You heard right.
That sounds intense. What's the point of that?
Well, May uses these kind of harsh practices to show that discomfort can actually bring about renewal.
Oh, okay.
Like a cold plunge can shock your system, awaken the senses,
I see.
and help you feel more alive.
Like when you're stuck in a rut and need to shake things up.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
a reset button.
I love that.
And May doesn't stop there.
What else does she do?
She explores all these cultural traditions tied to winter, like the celebration of St. Lucia's Day.
It's like she's collecting all this global wisdom on how people deal with hardship.
Exactly. And it's all about finding meaning in those darker times.
That's a really beautiful way to put it.
It just reminds us that everyone goes through wintering.
It's a universal human experience.
And there's so much we can learn from how other cultures have dealt with it.
I totally agree. Now, May makes a really crucial point throughout the book.
What's that?
She says wintering isn't just about what's happening outside of us.
Right.
It's about facing the winter inside ourselves.
Now that's an interesting thought.
What exactly does she mean by that?
It's like those times, when we feel lost inside, disconnected, or just stuck.
Like you've lost your internal compass.
Exactly. You're not sure which way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're in a creative rut, questioning things, or just feeling empty.
Yeah.
May says these internal struggles are also wintering.
So it's not always about external things like losing a job or getting sick.
Right, it's more about feeling lost on the inside.
Interesting. And May actually uses a really powerful metaphor to describe this.
Oh yeah, what's that?
It's this idea of losing your voice.
Ah, I see.
She literally lost her voice for a while.
Wow.
And she uses that to represent those times when we feel silenced, unheard.
Or disconnected from who we really are.
Exactly.
That's such a strong image.
I think everyone can relate to that on some level.
Yeah, for sure. Whether it's in our relationships at work or even in our creative pursuits.
It's like we lose our ability to express ourselves.
And May suggests that these moments when we feel most alone and vulnerable,
Right.
those are the times when it's crucial to turn inward.
Okay.
To really reconnect with ourselves.
So it's about taking care of our inner selves.
Exactly.
Nurturing our souls.
That makes a lot of sense. But it's also easier said than done.
Oh, definitely.
How do we actually do that when we feel so disconnected?
Well, that's where May offers some really practical advice. Okay, I'm all ears. What does she suggest?
A lot of it echoes what we talked about with handling external hardships.
Okay.
The first thing is rest and retreat.
Okay.
Creating space for yourself to just be and process things.
Giving yourself permission to hit pause.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not about being lazy or unproductive.
Right.
It's recognizing that rest is essential for healing.
Love that.
And that ties into another key takeaway. Connecting with nature.
Ah, yes.
May found so much comfort in being outdoors, observing the natural world, and doing things like walking or gardening.
Yeah, I feel that.
She believes that nature helps us feel more grounded and connected.
To something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly.
You know, we mentioned that blog post earlier from Bookshelf Discovery.
Oh, right, yeah.
And they had some great tips for getting through winter.
And a lot of them line up with May's ideas.
It's amazing how much they overlap.
The post mentioned using a sun lamp to help with the winter blues.
Right.
And getting some exercise, taking time off to rest and renew and connecting with others.
And of course, reading.
Oh, of course. How could I forget?
It's like a whole body approach to wintering.
Taking care of all the different parts of ourselves.
Exactly.
And sometimes just having support from others can make a huge difference.
Definitely.
May doesn't say we should isolate ourselves during these times.
Right.
She actually emphasizes the importance of connection and sharing our struggles.
We don't have to go through it alone.
You got it. Reaching out can be so healing.
Absolutely.
And along with connecting with others, May also talks about embracing quietude and introspection.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
It's not about shutting down completely,
Right.
but it's about finding time for reflection journaling or just listening to that inner voice.
Okay.
It's about getting to know yourself better, understanding your needs.
And developing self-compassion.
Exactly.
That's like tuning into that inner wisdom we all have.
But we often ignore it in our busy lives.
So true.
And maybe the most important thing May encourages is to accept and be present with those difficult emotions.
That's a tough one.
It is, isn't it?
We're always told to look on the bright side or snap out of it when we're down.
Right.
But May's suggesting something different.
Yeah, she's advocating for a more mindful and compassionate approach to our feelings.
So not wallowing in negativity,
No, not at all.
but acknowledging that pain and sadness are a part of life.
And allowing ourselves to actually feel them without judgment.
So we sit with the discomfort instead of pushing it away.
Exactly.
Because those emotions have something to teach us.
Right, they're not something to be afraid of.
Interesting.
May actually suggests that facing our difficult emotions head on can be incredibly transformative.
Wow.
If we approach them with curiosity and compassion.
This is making me realize that wintering isn't just about surviving.
Right.
It's about using those times to grow, learn, and even find joy.
You're absolutely right. And that's something May highlights throughout the book.
Yeah.
She talks about finding comfort in simple things during those periods.
Right.
Like cozy nights, reading a good book, connecting with loved ones.
I love those.
Or even taking cold showers.
Wait, hold on. Didn't we just talk about cold water swimming?
We did.
Is she obsessed with cold?
You know, there's definitely a theme there.
It seems like it.
It's about embracing that invigorating power of cold.
Okay.
But it's not just about the physical sensation.
What is it about then?
It's about pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone in a healthy way.
Okay.
Building resilience and finding that feeling of aliveness even when things are tough.
So we can find strength and even joy in those experiences we usually avoid.
Exactly.
Makes you think differently about things.
And it all connects back to her main message about finding meaning in those winter periods.
Right.
Even in the darkest moments, there's always potential for growth and change.
This has been so insightful.
I'm glad to hear it.
I know our listeners are loving it too.
Hopefully.
Before we move on to the final part of this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Book Nook podcast.
Yeah, keep those insightful conversations coming.
And if you're enjoying this episode, don't forget to leave us a review.
Helps other bookworms find us and join the party.
Now back to wintering.
Okay.
We've talked about embracing discomfort, finding comfort in simple things, connecting with nature. But what about when you feel completely lost? Like you've lost your way entirely?
Oh, yeah. Those times are tough.
What does May suggest for those moments of deep internal wintering?
May suggests turning to practices that help us reconnect with ourselves.
Okay.
Like tapping into that inner wisdom and creativity we all have.
So going inward and quieting all the external noise.
Right, and tuning into our own inner compass.
I like that.
She talks about journaling meditation or getting creative.
Oh, yeah.
Finding those outlets that are both soothing and productive.
Right.
Allowing us to express ourselves authentically and reconnect with the things that bring us joy and purpose.
That reminds me of what you said earlier about May losing her voice.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was a metaphor for feeling silenced or disconnected from her true self.
Exactly. And she really emphasizes that in those moments when we feel most vulnerable, that's when self-care and reconnecting with ourselves is most important.
It's like being patient with ourselves.
Right.
Knowing that healing takes time.
And that it's okay to not have all the answers.
I think we live in a culture that values busyness and productivity so much.
It's true.
But May's reminding us that sometimes the most productive thing is to slow down.
Yeah.
To turn inward and just be.
Absolutely.
And it's in those moments of stillness and contemplation that we often have our biggest breakthroughs.
I completely agree.
Like those trees shedding their leaves in the fall.
Oh, yeah.
They look bare,
but
they're actually conserving energy, getting ready for new growth.
Beautiful analogy.
It speaks to that transformative power of wintering.
It's not about giving up. It's about doing that deep inner work.
Like shedding those old patterns and beliefs that don't serve us anymore.
Exactly. So we can come out stronger and more aligned with who we really are.
It's like hitting reset.
Yeah, like a process of death and rebirth. Wow.
And that brings us back to May's main message. Wintering is essential.
It's part of the cycle.
Just like nature has periods of dormancy and renewal, we do too.
Right.
And it's in those times of retreat that we can tap into our creativity, wisdom, and resilience.
So we can come out of those experiences transformed.
Exactly.
This has been so insightful. I'm already looking at things differently.
That's great to hear.
I think May's book gives us a new way to understand and navigate those tough times.
A new framework.
It's a reminder that those times aren't something to fear.
But to embrace them as opportunities to grow and learn.
And even find joy.
Absolutely. And one of the key takeaways from both May's book and the Bookshelf Discovery blog is that we can find joy in those quiet, introspective moments.
It's like rediscovering those simple pleasures.
Curling up with a good book.
A warm cup of tea.
Listening to the rain.
It's about hitting pause and just being present.
And sometimes those moments of stillness lead to the most amazing insights.
I can see that.
May talks about winter being a time for
like engaging in creative pursuits, like knitting, baking, or writing.
Finding those outlets that are both soothing and productive. And it's about embracing imperfection.
Oh, yeah.
May shares her own struggles with things like making bagels.
Right.
It's a reminder that it's okay to not be perfect.
To experiment and learn as we go.
And sometimes those failures lead to the best discoveries.
It's true.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We explored this whole idea of wintering, both as a season and as a metaphor.
And we dove into Katherine May's personal journey.
And all the practical advice she gives for navigating those times.
We talked about embracing discomfort, finding comfort in simple things, connecting with nature, and turning inward for guidance.
This has been an incredible journey through wintering.
It really has.
I hope it's inspired everyone listening to embrace their own winter seasons.
With curiosity, courage, and compassion.
Before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Book Nook podcast for more deep dives like this one.
Yes, and if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review. It helps others find the show.
And don't forget to check the link in the description to get your copy of Wintering by Katherine May.
A must-read.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the power of rest and retreat. Until next time, happy reading.